So you're thinking of moving to Harvard Square. Harvard Square is iconic, but it's definitely not for everyone. In this video, I'm going to share a bit about Harvard Square, the good, the bad, the ugly, the trade-offs, the things you should think about whether you're thinking of selling your Harvard Square property or you're thinking of buying a property in Harvard Square. To start off, let's get right into it. Harvard Square has a certain lifestyle, a certain energy about that, and that's driven, of course, by Harvard University. You're going to have Harvard undergrads, Harvard grad students, Harvard PhDs, visiting scholars, visiting professors. You're going to have international folks from all over the world. It's a very intellectual area with a lot of cool things happening. So there's a certain vibe behind that. For some people, it may not be your vibe. I personally love it. I think it's a lot of fun to be around. It gives me energy and it speaks to me. But if you're someone who isn't looking for all that sort of eclectic mix of people and points of view, it may not be the right area for you. The second thing is it's extremely, extremely walkable. In fact, one could argue that Harvard Square is the most walkable area in all of Cambridge and the most walkable area in the greater Boston area outside of Boston neighborhoods themselves. So you have restaurants, you have coffee shops, you have grocery stores. You can walk to everything. You absolutely do not need a car, a bus, a bike. It is all right there in the community for you. So could be great if you're someone who's a downsizer and you want city living where you can just simply walk around. You don't have to drive. It's really convenient. If you're a young professional, it's great. You can walk over to a grocery store, grab what you need, go home, and whip something up. It's just a really convenient place. Not only is it walkable, it's also very accessible. There's the Harvard Square Red Line T-Stop, which is just 3 stops to downtown Boston. It takes roughly 8 to 10-ish minutes to get to downtown Boston. So if you're commuting, say, to MGH or Park Street in downtown Boston, you can get there in a matter of minutes. So if you're a young professional, if you're a doctor, if you're a nurse, if you're in tech, if you're a CEO, whatever you are, it's very easy to get to downtown Boston. And while it is hustling and bustling in Harvard Square, it's not going to be quite as crazy as a downtown Boston in terms of noise. So it kind of has that nice blend where it's definitely city-ish, but it's not full-on city. And again, you do not need a car at all. I can't stress that enough. You absolutely do not need a car if you're in Harvard Square. And the reality is there actually are not a lot of parking spots, but I'll get to that in a minute. In terms of access, it's not just downtown Boston. Within Harvard Square, you can actually walk to the Charles River, which is absolutely a beautiful area where you can go out on the water in the warmer months. You can also run along the Charles River, go for a nice walk, or bike along the Charles River. It is booming in the warmer months of the year. So it's great to be by a body of water. If you're someone who likes to exercise and just get outside, it's really, really awesome. Now, a couple trade-offs here. It is busy year-round in Harvard Square. So if you're someone who's looking for quiet suburban living, if you're looking for peace and quiet and not being on top of your neighbors, Harvard Square is not the right place for you. But if you're someone where you're going to be on top of each other, you're going to be in close proximity to other people, and you like that feeling, it's a perfect place to be. And back to what I mentioned a second ago around cars, you don't need a car. But if you're someone where you're a driver and you need a car, parking can be really tough. And so I would say if you're someone that's on a tight financial budget, Harvard Square may not be for you because when it comes to, especially if you're a driver as well, because if you have a car and you need a garage spot or a parking off-street spot, you're going to pay a lot for that, whether you're buying a condo or you're even renting. It's going to be extremely expensive to just rent that spot. The other thing, if you're on a tight budget, is Harvard Square is extremely expensive. In fact, it is the most expensive part in all of Cambridge, one of the most expensive areas in all of Massachusetts. If you're looking for a single family, usually prices start at around $2.5 million, and I have seen properties go for $3, $4, $5, $6, $7, $8 million, believe it or not, for some of these beautiful Victorian and colonial revival homes in the Harvard Square area. So if you're looking for a single family, you must have a serious budget. On the flip side, if you're selling a single family, there's extremely low demand. There's only about 10 single families or so that tend to sell each year, walking distance to Harvard Square. So they're in extremely high demand. If you properly position the property and market it to the right buyer type, you can absolutely sell your Harvard Square single family very, very quickly. The result, though, is because there's so few singles, the vast majority of housing stock in Harvard Square tends to skew condo and small multifamily. And even small multifamily, I'd say, is a small chunk of that. The vast majority really is condos. So if you want to be in Harvard Square and you want to be there quickly, the quickest route to get there is condos. There are a ton of older buildings, roughly 1900, 1920 builds for the most part, that have condos where you can get into the market and start walking around and enjoying the Harvard Square lifestyle. And because Harvard Square has the Harvard affiliation, the international affiliation, a lot of investors like to be there because it's such a strong investor market, because the tenant pool is so strong and the rents are so high, and it tends to persevere even when their economy isn't doing well. There's always strong buyer demand, and as a result, units tend to go quickly. They tend to go for a really high price point, tends to be very competitive, and it tends to be a lot more expensive than you would think. And you're going to be looking at properties for $600,000, $700,000, $800,000 that's 120 years old. And for a lot of people from other parts of the country, it's kind of a bit of sticker shock. So just be prepared. This is premium part of Cambridge. But again, the result is you also tend to get historically resilient pricing. And so what I mean by that is, if we fall into a recession, some other areas of Cambridge absolutely could take a dip. Certainly certain sections of Somerville will take a dip. And as you go further out in Greater Boston, some of those areas, I think, have a higher chance of taking a real knock on price. Whereas Harvard Square tends to be resilient, stay even, and even can go up during these difficult times by a few percentage points each year. So in conclusion, Harvard Square, best for people who want the energy and convenience and long-term stability of being able to walk around and get everything you need. It's not ideal if you're looking for a lot of space, if you're looking for peace and quiet, if you're looking for easy parking with a huge parking lot. I hope that's helpful. If you're looking to sell or buy a property in Harvard Square, you can reach me at 617-833-7457.